So, journalist, our time together is sadly at an end. The elevator is just upstairs. Listen, I know that I mentioned lawyers earlier. It's just that a man like me needs to be careful. I understand the need for journalists. People in power need to be held accountable. I'm no exception. I just hope you're fair when you write about me. Yes, there is a black cat under a ladder. But superstition is for the incompetent. Besides, that tiny, fuzzy, adorable creature would never bring bad luck to anyone. Journalist, here's something for your exclusive. As you can probably imagine, I was a smart child. I built a calculator when I was 7 and made it solar-powered when I was 8. But the most I could ever get from my father was a half-hearted grunt of acknowledgement. Some would call that neglect. I call that motivation. Well done, journalist. When you meet James, ask him to check the time and tell him that I won. See you on the other side. Listen, I'll think of something. Start heading back. I'll tell you when to stop.
Arthur's office, and it's worse than I thought. Arthur is trying to sabotage Lightmatter. It's not just poisonings. I found the schematics for his experiment on the core. He's not trying to improve it. He's trying to overload it. If he manages to do that, we are all going to die. I am not going to let Arthur ruin our future. I have to get to Virgil. Arthur is after me. Whoever finds this, if it's not too late, tell Virgil that Arthur needs to be stopped.
close attention. It seems that when it comes to you, nothing can ever be simple. That elevator was your quickest way out. But I have an idea, and it involves making this partnership mutually beneficial. You are going to be my assistant. Try to contain yourself. You will be moving deeper into the facility through our research and development department. Before I allow you in, I would like to make something abundantly clear. Be careful with what you touch, and no photographs. I'll tell you more about the plan as I work out the details. Do not make me regret this, and remember to do exactly as I say. So, assistant, this is where we develop our photon connectors. Everything you see here is confidential, expensive, and fragile. Don't treat it like you treat my elevators. Or bridges. Behold, a photon connector. Ah, a beam of light so magnificent, it almost looks like matter being created before you. Fascinating, isn't it? The connectors suspend photon crystals over electromagnets. As long as they're in line of sight to what I call a mother source, they create a powerful beam of light matter. A beam so powerful that it produces a surplus of energy. Although the connectors are just prototypes for the core, they display the very essence of light matter. Know this, without the technology behind the connectors, photon crystals would be no better than diamonds, boring and devoid of function. The crystals possess great power, but it's my technology that releases and tames that power. Assistant, I think a lot about the future. In these labs, I've spent years testing the prototypes under various conditions, all to ensure the success of the core. You see, although the photon connectors have 100.2% conversion efficiency, I've reached 107% with the core. I achieved critical mass. And Arthur wanted to stop at the prototype. Madness. He was so certain that the laws of physics were unbreakable. That is where we differed. Where he saw laws, I saw suggestions. In that tunnel, we expose the photon connectors to wind, water, and hail. These tests ensure that the core, no matter the weather, will survive. You are no crystal, but you should be able to handle a couple of rounds through it. Ah, the core. No matter how many times we see it, it leaves us in awe, doesn't it, Assistant? This is everything Lightmatter Technologies has built towards. Every power cell, every connector, all of them combine to create this. By using photon power cells to collect the energy from a large-scale beam of light matter, I built a perpetual motion machine. Facts are facts. The energy is clean, infinite, and is about to usher in the next scientific revolution. Others will stand on my shoulders and see further than they have ever before. That will be my legacy. We will fix the side effects. Let us ignore the quakes for now. Imagine at the center of a city, a core, providing sustainable and renewable energy to millions. That is the future we are striving for. Now, you probably have your own ideas about the applications of light matter, but there's no need to write them down. We have given a small-scale prototype to a test town of 500 inhabitants. For the first time, these townspeople have access to a steady energy source. They are now thriving. Assistant, I now have the plan. To get you out, we are shutting down the core. When I left earlier, my path down there was blocked. And since I'm limited by my body, but not my mind, I wasn't able to get around the obstacles. As you have the opposite problem, you'll play a part in this. The core is very delicate, so I'll be up here in my control room managing the shutdown. As my assistant, you'll be the one pulling the lever. When I told James of this plan, he seemed jealous. You might be wondering why there are photon connectors inside an office space. Well, morale was low because of the rampant hair loss. So I implemented a photon fun hour. During their breaks, employees were allowed to play with the connectors. Productivity rose by 12%. So, James just called me. He's worried that since you've been weightlifting pens all your life, you have too frail a constitution to pull a lever. Let's see if he's right. Assistant, you need to know what will happen after the temporary shutdown. Once the core is off, the quakes and shadow anomalies will subside, allowing you to walk your fragile little head out of here. But more importantly, observing the shutdown will provide me the information I need to fix the side effects permanently. The core will repower, and it will shine eternally. Do you want to hear a secret? Aperture Science has an artificial intelligence prototype. They tested it by having it create the perfect cake recipe. It succeeded. But the first iterations of that recipe used neurotoxin as the primary ingredient. As a human being, I'm worried. This mineral inspection chamber makes me nostalgic. Before I discovered this mountain, Arthur had a mineral collection. He called me over one day to show off a particularly rare example he had found, a photon crystal. I could see the potential immediately. And Arthur thought it was just a rare crystal. I thought he was brain damaged. Ignore that sign. As I've told you before, all groundbreaking technology has its kinks. It pleases me that you crossed paths with Lux again. If only you could handle the shadows as calmly as that cat. Lux is the only thing around here that doesn't do what I say. I once kept him in my office when James was sick. I was busy, so I ordered Lux to sit in the corner. He didn't. James would have. Impressive. With that agility and complete disregard for your own safety, one could easily mistake you for a cat. I like cats. Look at the plants around you, Assistant. We planted them yesterday. You see, light matter accelerates photosynthesis and makes them grow at an incredible rate. Imagine applying this technology to cultivation throughout the world. Famine, mass deforestation, floods, all of these relegated to history. Light matter will not only brighten the world, it will give life. Lux, sit. Don't eat that. Come here. Where is that toy? There it is. Lux, who's a clever cat? Yeah, you are. Now fetch. Good boy. You know, assisting me with the core will be the single most important thing you will ever do in your life. Around the world, hundreds of millions of people aren't connected to the power grid. We think ourselves so enlightened, but we are surrounded by a sea of darkness. To bring light, sacrifices must be made by all of us. Assistant, by now you must understand the significance of light matter. So it's about time you learn how Arthur almost destroyed it. 3 months, and a lot of hair ago, Arthur went to the board of directors behind my back. He proved to them that light matter was causing minor side effects. It was humiliating, but I solved the problem by installing the decontaminators. That is when Arthur started poisoning people. Later, that vermin of a man had the nerve to use that as further proof to the board. While we were investigating the matter, one of my employees discovered his plan to overload the core and destroy the entire facility. Luckily, James and I stopped him before it was too late. Arthur paid for what he did, but nothing can redeem betrayal.